Ambassador Chen walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers. His steps echoed softly on the crystal floor. Around him, representatives from dozens of alien species filled the room. Some were huge creatures with thick armor and sharp claws. Others floated in the air like living clouds. A few looked like walking computers with glowing eyes. Chen felt very small compared to them all. The Krex delegate, a warrior twice Chen's size with red scales and metal spikes on his arms, looked down at the human. His mouth opened to show rows of sharp teeth. "So this is the new species that wants to join us," he said with a deep, rumbling voice. "They look weak." The Zephyrian representative, a being made of shifting light and energy, spoke without moving any mouth. Its voice appeared directly in everyone's mind. "Weak in body. Yes. But we must test their minds as well." Chen cleared his throat. "Thank you for accepting humanity into the Galactic Council. We are honored to be here." His voice was quiet and calm. "We come in peace. We want to trade, to learn, and to help build a better galaxy for everyone." The Dominion speaker, a tall gray creature with a large head full of glowing brain tissue visible through clear skin, made a sound like laughing. "How sweet. Another primitive species that thinks the galaxy runs on friendship. We understand the galaxy can be dangerous," Chen said. "That's why we want to talk about something important. We would like clear rules about how to solve problems between species. We really prefer to handle all conflicts peacefully." The Krex delegate slammed his clawed hand on his desk. "Rules? The strong make the rules. Little human. The weak follow them." Chen's face stayed calm, but something flickered behind his eyes. "We understand your position. But please, we must ask something of all of you. It's very important." The room fell quiet. Even the background humming of the translation machine seemed to pause. "Please don't make us mad," Chen said simply. The silence lasted only a moment before laughter filled the chamber. The Krex roared with amusement. The Dominion's brain tissue pulsed with what looked like entertainment. Even some of the smaller species made chittering sounds. "Did the human just threaten us?" asked the Vendari pirate chief, a thin creature covered in black fur with yellow eyes. "With what? Their soft skin and tiny teeth?" Chen raised his hand politely. "Not a threat. A request. We strongly prefer that conflicts never get to the point where we feel threatened. For everyone's sake, please don't make us mad." This brought even more laughter. The Krex delegate wiped tears from his eyes. "Oh, this is good. The species with no claws, no armor, no psychic powers, and basic technology is warning us not to anger them." The Zephyrian's mental voice carried amusement. "Perhaps they will cry at us? Or write strongly worded letters?" Chen waited for the laughter to die down. "We've studied your military records. All of your species are impressive warriors. You've conquered worlds and built great empires. We respect that." He paused. "But we really, really hope we never have to show you our capabilities." The Dominion speaker leaned forward, its big brain glowing brighter. "Your military files show nothing special. Basic ships, simple weapons, standard tactics. What could you possibly do to threaten any of us?" "We hope you never find out," Chen said quietly. Over the next hour, the council went through the formal process of accepting humanity. They assigned humans a small section of space, gave them basic trading rights, and set up diplomatic channels. The whole time, various species made jokes about the humans and their strange warning. When the ceremony ended, Chen gathered his papers and prepared to leave. The Krex delegate approached him, still chuckling. "Human," the warrior said. "Your people seem nice enough. But this galaxy eats nice species for breakfast. You better get stronger fast, or someone will take everything you have." Chen looked up at the massive alien. For just a moment, the Krex felt something strange. The human's eyes seemed different, like looking into a deep cave where something dangerous might be hiding. "Please," Chen said again. "Just don't make us mad." The feeling passed, and the Krex laughed again. "Whatever you say, little human. As Chen left the chamber, he heard the conversations continuing behind him. The species were already making plans. Some talked about testing human trade routes. Others mentioned claiming some of the worlds humans had marked for colonization. The Vendari pirates whispered about easy targets for raids. Chen walked down the long hallway to his ship. His human crew was waiting for him, all looking nervous. "How did it go, sir?" asked Captain Martinez, the security chief. "About as expected," Chen said sadly. "They think we're weak. They're going to test us." "Should we prepare defenses?" asked Dr. Kim, the science advisor. Chen shook his head. "Not yet. We stick to the plan. We try diplomacy first. We try everything peaceful first." He paused at the airlock door. "But start quietly moving the children to the inner colonies. And send a message to the Council of Earth. Tell them we might need to remember things we've tried hard to forget." The crew exchanged worried looks. They all knew human history. They all knew what their species was capable of when pushed too far. "Sir," Captain Martinez said carefully, "what if they don't listen to our warnings?" Chen was quiet for a long moment. Outside the ship's windows, the great space station buzzed with activity. Hundreds of alien species went about their business, trading, talking, living their lives. They had no idea what they were dealing with. "Then God help us all," Chen said finally, "because we've been trying so hard to be better than what we were. But if they force us to remember what we really are..." He shook his head. "Just pray they listen to our warnings." The human ship left the station and headed back toward Earth space. Behind them, the galaxy's most powerful species were already making plans to test the strange new creatures who kept saying, "Please don't make us mad." None of them understood that humans weren't making threats. They were making desperate pleas. The universe was about to learn the difference. 3 weeks after humanity joined the Galactic Council, the testing began. It started small. A Krex patrol ship, accidentally, wandered into human space near the Tau Ceti system. When the human border guard, a single small ship called the Peaceful Dawn, politely asked them to leave, the Krex captain laughed over the radio. "Make us leave, little humans," he said. Captain Sarah Wong of the Peaceful Dawn took a deep breath. "Krex vessel, we ask again that you please leave our space. We don't want any trouble." "What if we don't want to leave?" the Krex captain asked. "What will your tiny ship do to us?" Wong was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was very calm. "Please, for your own safety, just leave. You really don't want to make us mad." The Krex ship left, but only because they were bored. The captain sent a message to his fleet. "Humans are even weaker than we thought. They beg instead of fight." Within days, the story spread across the galaxy. The species that asked nicely, instead of defending themselves. The creatures who said, "Please don't make us mad" when threatened. The Vendari pirates decided to test this weakness. Captain Ziak of the Vendari Raider fleet chose a human research station orbiting a distant moon. The station had 50 scientists studying alien plants. No weapons, no military ships, just researchers and their families. Zek's 3 warships surrounded the station. Human station. This system now belongs to the Vendari. Leave or be destroyed. Dr. Elizabeth Harper, the station commander, appeared on the communication screen. She looked tired and worried. "Vendari ships. We are peaceful researchers. We have no weapons and pose no threat to you." "Then you die easily," Exec said, showing his sharp teeth. "Please," Dr. Harper said. "We'll leave if you want us to. But you're making a mistake. Please don't make us mad." Zek laughed. "Mad? Little human? What can you do? Throw your science books at us?" The research station began evacuation procedures. Humans loaded their families and research onto small transport ships. They left everything else behind. Years of work, expensive equipment, their homes. As the last transport ship pulled away, Dr. Harper sent one final message to the pirates. "We're leaving peacefully. But please, think about what you're doing. You really don't want to make our people mad." The Vendari destroyed the empty station for fun and took everything valuable. XX sent the video recording across the pirate networks. Humans run away like scared children. Easy targets. The galactic news networks picked up the story. Human weakness confirmed. Read the headlines. New species abandons colony rather than fight. Ambassador Chen received thousands of messages from other human worlds. Angry voices demanded action. Why don't we fight back? They asked. Why do we let them mock us? Chen called an emergency meeting with the human fleet commanders and the Council of Earth. Our people are getting angry, Admiral Torres said over the secure channel. Every day we look weak, more species will test us. Soon, they'll attack our core worlds. I know, Chen said. But we have to try peaceful solutions first. We have to. Chen said. Sir, said General Kim. My soldiers are asking hard questions. They know what humans are capable of. They know our real history. Some of them are starting to remember things we've tried to forget. Chen felt a chill. How many? About 10% of our military. The psychological blocks are weakening. If this continues... It won't, Chen said firmly. We'll make them understand through diplomacy. We have to. But the testing continued to escalate. The Zephyrians decided to conduct research on human colonies. They began scanning human settlements with powerful mental probes, reading thoughts and emotions without permission. When humans protested, the Zephyrians said they were studying primitive emotional responses. The Dominion started taking human scientific discoveries and claiming them as their own. Inferior species cannot truly understand advanced concepts, they announced. We are simply correcting the natural order. Each time, the human response was the same. Diplomatic protests, formal complaints to the Galactic Council, and always the same warning. Please don't make us mad. The other species found this funnier each time. At the monthly council meeting, the Krex delegate stood up to address the chamber. I propose we discuss the human problem, he announced. What problem? Chen asked quietly. You claim space but don't defend it. You have colonies but abandon them when threatened. You ask for respect but give no reason to respect you. The Krex's voice boomed across the chamber. Either be strong or get out of the way of strong species. Murmurs of agreement came from many delegates. Even some of the peaceful species nodded. In a dangerous galaxy, weakness was seen as a threat to stability. Chen stood slowly. We have defended our most important worlds. We have protected our people. We have caused no harm to anyone. By running away, shouted the Vendari representative. By abandoning your claims. By begging. We prefer peaceful solutions, Chen said. The Dominion speaker's brain glowed brighter. Peaceful solutions are for equals. You are not our equals. Your technology is basic. Your ships are small. Your people are soft. Why should we treat you as equals? Chen looked around the chamber. He saw the same expression on dozens of alien faces. Contempt. Amusement. Hunger. They saw humans as prey, because, Chen said very quietly, we're asking you nicely, and we really don't want to get mad. The laughter was even louder than before. The Krex delegate actually fell over laughing. The Zephyrians' mental laughter felt like needles in everyone's brain. When the noise died down, the hegemony representative stood up. The hegemony was a military alliance of the most aggressive species. Their delegate was a massive creature covered in battle scars. The hegemony has decided, the delegate announced, that humanity needs to learn its place in this galaxy. We will provide education. Chen felt his heart stop. What kind of education? The kind that teaches weak species to serve strong ones. We will choose one of your colonies for a demonstration. Your people will see what happens to those who don't know their place. The chamber fell silent. Even the species who had been laughing looked uncomfortable. Everyone knew what hegemony education meant. Chen stood very still for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Please reconsider, please. You don't understand what you're starting. We understand perfectly, the hegemony delegate said. We're starting your education. Chen looked around the chamber one more time. He saw eager faces, cruel smiles, and excited whispers. The galaxy's predators were ready to feed. Then may God forgive you, Chen said quietly. Because we might not be able to. He gathered his papers and left the chamber. Behind him, the galaxy's most powerful species began planning humanity's first lesson in knowing their place. None of them noticed that Chen's hands were shaking as he walked away. Not from fear, but from the massive effort it was taking to stay in control. Because deep in his mind, something that had been sleeping for a very long time was starting to wake up, something that remembered what humans really were. The attack began at dawn on New Geneva. New Geneva was perfect for the hegemony's purposes. It was a peaceful world, with 2 million humans. No military bases, no weapon factories, just families living quiet lives. There were schools, hospitals, art galleries, and parks. Children played in the streets while their parents worked in gardens and laboratories. The hegemony wanted the galaxy to see what happened to species that didn't know their place. Dr. Maria Santos was having breakfast with her 8-year-old daughter when the sky filled with warships. Through her kitchen window, she watched massive vessels descend through the morning clouds. Her daughter, Anna, pressed her face to the glass. "Mama, are those the aliens from the news?" Anna asked. Maria pulled her daughter away from the window. "Yes, sweetheart. We need to go to the shelter now." But there would be no shelter for anyone on New Geneva. The hegemony had brought 50 warships, Krex battle cruisers, Vendari raiders, Dominion mine ships, and vessels from a dozen other aggressive species. They surrounded the planet like hungry predators around wounded prey. General Thok, the hegemony commander, broadcast his message to the planet and to the entire galaxy. His scarred face filled every screen. "Humans of New Geneva, you will serve as an example. Your species thinks it can join the galactic community without showing strength. Today, you learn the cost of weakness." The bombardment started with the communication centers, then the power stations, then the hospitals. The humans on New Geneva had no weapons that could threaten the hegemony fleet. Their few small ships were destroyed in the first minutes. The planet's defenders were security officers with basic equipment, not soldiers. But they tried to protect their families anyway. Officer David Kim rushed through the burning streets, helping evacuate a school. Children cried as explosions shook the ground. A hegemony gunship flew overhead, its weapons turning playgrounds into craters. "This way," Kim shouted to the teachers. "The evacuation ships are this way." But the evacuation ships were already burning. The hegemony had targeted them first. At the Planetary Government Center, Governor Helen Cross tried to contact the Galactic Council. The communication equipment sparked and died as another blast hit the building. "Any ship, any station. This is New Geneva," she broadcast on emergency frequencies. "We are under attack. 2 million civilians need immediate help. Please, anyone." The only response was laughter from the hegemony fleet. The attack continued for 12 hours. The aliens took their time, making sure their cameras captured every moment. They wanted the galaxy to see burning cities, running people, and crying children. Dr. Santos held Anna in a basement shelter as the building above them collapsed. Around them, dozens of families huddled together in the dark. "Mama, I'm scared," Anna whispered. "It's going to be okay, baby," Maria lied. "Help is coming," but no help came. The human fleet was 3 days away. The Galactic Council was considering a response. The galaxy watched and did nothing. By evening, half of New Geneva's cities were rubble. The hegemony had killed thousands of civilians. Not because they were enemies, but because they wanted to send a message. General Thok made another broadcast as the sun set over the burning world. "Let this be a lesson to humanity and all weak species. This is what happens when you don't know your place. Tomorrow, we will finish what we started here. Then we will choose another human world." In the ruins of New Geneva's capital, the few surviving government officials gathered around a damaged radio. Governor Cross had died in the afternoon bombing. Deputy Governor Martinez was badly injured, but still alive. "Can we reach Ambassador Chen?" Martinez asked through bloody lips. "I think so," said Communications Officer Patel. "The emergency transmitter still works. They sent the message across space to the Galactic Council station." It took 3 minutes to reach Ambassador Chen in his quarters. Chen was sitting in his small room, staring at the wall. He had been watching the news reports from New Geneva all day. His hands were clenched so tightly that his nails had cut into his palms. When the message came through, Patel's voice was weak and full of static. "Ambassador Chen, this is New Geneva. The city is gone. Most of the government is dead. They're going to finish us tomorrow." The voice broke. "Sir, we tried to evacuate the children first. We tried to protect them, but they targeted the schools on purpose. They killed the children on purpose." Chen closed his eyes. In his mind, he could hear something screaming. Something that had been locked away for generations was clawing at its cage. "Sir," Patel continued, "they're broadcasting it to the whole galaxy. They want everyone to see us die. They want to use our children's deaths to scare other species." Chen stood up slowly. He walked to his communication console and opened a channel to the Galactic Council's emergency session. On the main screen, delegates from across the galaxy were debating. Some species called for sanctions against the hegemony. Others said humans had brought this on themselves. A few suggested that maybe the hegemony had a point about weak species. Chen waited for a break in the arguing. When the chamber fell quiet, he spoke. "Honored delegates." His voice was different, calmer than before, but with something underneath that made even the Kreks shift uncomfortably in their seats. "For the past year, humanity has tried to be part of your galactic community. We have followed your laws. We have respected your borders. We have sought peaceful solutions to every conflict." Chen paused. On the screens around the chamber, live footage from New Geneva showed burning hospitals and dead children. "We have warned you, again and again, not to make us mad. You thought it was a threat. It wasn't." Chen looked directly into the camera. It was a plea. The chamber was completely silent now. "You have killed our children." Chen's voice remained perfectly calm, but something in his eyes made ancient predator instincts scream warnings in alien minds. "You have murdered our families for entertainment. You have broadcast their deaths to mock us." He leaned forward slightly. "We warned you not to make us mad, because we know what we become when we're angry. We've spent 300 years trying to be better than our nature. We've built a civilization dedicated to controlling what we really are." Chen stood up. Around the galaxy, humans watching the broadcast felt something stirring in their minds. Something their great-great-grandparents had known. "You didn't listen to our warnings. You chose to hurt our children." Chen's smile was the most terrifying thing the galaxy had ever seen. "Now you're going to learn why we were so afraid of this moment." The transmission ended. Every human embassy, every human ship, every human colony went silent. The species that had spent months laughing at human weakness suddenly found themselves staring at empty screens and dead communication channels. For the first time in 3 centuries, humanity had gone to war, and the galaxy was about to discover why humans had tried so hard to stay peaceful. Because when humans stopped being civilized, they remembered exactly what they were. And what they were was the most dangerous thing the universe had ever created. The first sign something was wrong came 12 hours after Chen's transmission ended. Dr. Yix, a Dominion scientist monitoring human space, noticed strange energy readings from Earth. The planet's entire electromagnetic signature had changed overnight. Power consumption had increased by 400%. Massive construction projects were starting simultaneously across all continents. "This is impossible," Yix muttered, studying the data. "No species can mobilize this fast." On Earth, Professor David Chen, no relation to the ambassador, felt the change in his own mind. He had been working on theoretical physics, trying to understand alien technology, but when he woke up that morning, his brain was thinking about different things: weapons, tactics, ways to kill efficiently. The knowledge was just there, like memories he had always had but forgotten. He knew how to build bombs from household chemicals. He knew exactly where to hit a Kreks warrior to paralyze them instantly. He knew psychological techniques that could break a Dominion mind. "Sarah," he called to his wife. "Are you feeling strange?" Sarah was in the kitchen, but she wasn't making breakfast. She was studying their knife collection with the focused attention of someone planning surgery. "I'm fine," she said without looking up. "I'm just remembering things." All across human space, the same awakening was happening. Teachers became strategists. Farmers became weapons designers. Children as young as 10 started asking their parents about the old wars. The genetic locks that humanity had placed on itself 3 centuries ago were failing. On the colony world Harmony, Captain Lisa Martinez felt her peaceful nature dissolving like sugar in acid. She had been a colony security officer, trained to handle minor disputes and help lost tourists. Now she found herself planning the complete destruction of the hegemony fleet. "Sir," her deputy said nervously, "the colonists are acting strangely. They've stopped their normal jobs. They're building things." Martinez looked out her office window. The peaceful farming community had transformed overnight. Citizens were constructing what looked like weapon factories, using nothing but farming equipment and basic tools. "How did they know how to build those?" her deputy asked. "We've always known," Martinez said quietly. "We just tried to forget." The galaxy's intelligence services began reporting impossible things. Human colonies that had been devoted to art and science were now producing weapons technology that shouldn't exist. Peaceful trading ships were being converted into warships overnight. Most disturbing of all, the humans seemed to know exactly what they were doing. There was no trial and error, no learning curve. They moved with the precision of a species that had been preparing for war their entire existence. Because they had been. The hegemony fleet around New Geneva received orders to withdraw and regroup with the main force. General Thok was confident that whatever humans were planning, superior firepower would handle it. He was wrong. The human fleet that appeared at the edge of the system 3 days later wasn't the collection of small, peaceful ships the galaxy knew. These were warships, but not like any the galaxy had seen before. They were ugly, functional, and absolutely terrifying. "What are those designs?" Thok demanded of his sensors officer. The officer, a Dominion analyst, stared at the readings with growing horror. "Sir, those ships, they're designed specifically to kill us. All of us." Each human ship was custom-built to destroy specific alien species. Anti-Krex vessels carried acid weapons that could eat through their armor. Anti-Zephyrian ships generated fields that disrupted energy beings. Anti-Dominion vessels broadcast mental static that caused brain tissue to literally burn. "How do they know our weaknesses so precisely?" Thok whispered. The answer came from Admiral Sarah Torres, the human fleet commander, when she opened communications. "Hegemony vessels. This is Admiral Torres. You wanted to see what humans are capable of. Let us show you." Torres's ship, the Remembrance, moved toward the hegemony fleet. It wasn't faster than their ships. It wasn't more heavily armed. But the way it moved was wrong. It anticipated every maneuver, countered every strategy, predicted every tactic. The first hegemony ship to die was a Krex battlecruiser. The human vessel hit it with a projectile weapon that shouldn't have been able to penetrate Krex armor. But the humans had studied Krex metallurgy for months, looking for weaknesses the Krex themselves didn't know existed. The cruiser's hull split open like a ripe fruit. "Impossible," Thok breathed. The second ship died to a computer virus that the humans had specifically designed for Dominion technology. The virus didn't just shut down the ship's systems, it reprogrammed them to cause maximum pain to the organic components before destroying them. The Dominion crew screamed as their own ship tortured them to death. By the fourth ship, the hegemony fleet was trying to retreat. But the humans had predicted this too. Human ships appeared at every escape route, having somehow moved into position without being detected. "How did they know where we would run?" Thok demanded. Admiral Torres answered over the open channel. "Because we've been watching you for a year. We've studied every battle you've ever fought. We know how every species in your alliance thinks, fights, and dies." The hegemony fleet was destroyed in 47 minutes. Of the 50 ships that had murdered civilians on New Geneva, none survived. But the humans didn't stop there. They followed the fleeing command ships back to hegemony space. What the humans did to the hegemony homeworlds broke the galaxy's understanding of warfare. They didn't just attack military targets. They systematically dismantled the entire hegemony civilization. Human cyber warfare specialists, who had been university professors a week earlier, hacked every hegemony communication network. They broadcast the leaders' personal secrets, turned allies against each other, and spread information that caused 3 separate revolutions. Human psychological warfare experts studied each species' deepest fears and cultural taboos, then used them with surgical precision. Proud Krex warriors were reduced to whimpering children by attacks on concepts humans had learned from studying their mythology. Human logistical experts cut off supply lines so efficiently that entire fleets found themselves stranded in space without fuel or food. But the most terrifying part wasn't the technology or the tactics. It was the humans themselves. The galaxy had known humans as gentle, diplomatic, peace-loving creatures. The beings who emerged from human space were something else entirely. They spoke the same languages and had the same faces. But behind their eyes was something that made apex predators want to hide. Ambassador Chen reappeared at the Galactic Council 3 weeks after the war began. He walked into the chamber where he had once begged for peace, but the being who entered wasn't the same diplomatic Chen the galaxy remembered. This Chen moved like a predator. When he smiled, it showed too many teeth. When he spoke, his voice carried undertones that triggered flight responses in prey species. "Honored delegates," he said to the terrified assembly. "Humanity would like to discuss new terms for our membership in this council." The Krex delegate, who had once laughed at human warnings, couldn't meet Chen's eyes. "Nothing unreasonable," Chen said pleasantly. "We simply want to ensure that no one ever again makes the mistake of thinking humans are weak." He gestured to a screen that showed footage from the war. Hegemony fleets burning. Planets under human occupation. Proud warrior species surrendering unconditionally. "You see, we tried to warn you. We told you not to make us mad. You thought it was because we were weak." Chen's smile became something that would haunt alien nightmares for generations. "We weren't warning you because we were weak. We were warning you because we're the most dangerous thing this galaxy has ever seen. And we were desperately trying not to remember that." The chamber was silent except for the sound of various species breathing heavily in fear. "Now we remember," Chen continued. "And you're all going to help us make sure we never have to remember again." The war ended not with a final battle, but with a simple message broadcast across the galaxy. The hegemony surrenders unconditionally to humanity. All member species hereby withdraw from any aggressive actions against human interests. We beg for mercy. It took 21 days. 21 days for humanity to completely break a military alliance that had terrorized the galaxy for decades. The surrender came from General Thok himself, broadcasting from his flagship as human vessels surrounded it. The proud warrior who had ordered the massacre on New Geneva was crying. "Please," he whispered to the human fleet commander. "We understand now. We'll never threaten your people again. Just please, make it stop." Admiral Torres, watching from her command chair, felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and disgust. Part of her, the part that remembered human history, wanted to continue until every hegemony world was ash. But another part, the part that had been trained to be civilized, recognized that enough was enough. "Stand down," she ordered her fleet. "The lesson is complete." But the real lesson was just beginning for the rest of the galaxy. Within hours of the hegemony's surrender, every major galactic power sent emergency diplomatic missions to human space. The Zephyrians, who had mocked human emotions, now offered complete access to their mental healing technologies. The Dominion, who had stolen human research, returned everything they had taken and offered their entire scientific database as compensation. The Vendari pirates sent a formal apology and tribute worth more than most planets' annual income. The Krex Empire offered a military alliance and swore eternal friendship. All of them wanted to make sure humans would never look at them the way they had looked at the hegemony. Ambassador Chen returned to the Galactic Council for what everyone hoped would be humanity's final demands. The chamber was packed, but it felt different now. Where once aliens had sat casually, making jokes and showing dominance, now they sat rigidly at attention. When Chen entered, every delegate stood. Not from respect, but from instinctive fear. Chen had changed since the war began. He still looked human, but something fundamental was different. The way he moved suggested barely controlled violence. The way he smiled made prey animals want to run. The way he spoke carried the absolute certainty of a species that had never lost a war. "Honored delegates," Chen said, settling into his seat. The word honored somehow sounded like a threat. "Let's discuss humanity's place in this galaxy." The Krex delegate, who had once towered over Chen with arrogant confidence, now struggled to speak. "Ambassador Chen, what are humanity's demands?" Chen smiled. "Very simple. Humanity will maintain its current territories. Our trade routes will be respected. Our colonies will be protected. And no species will ever again mistake our preference for peace as weakness." "Of course," the Zephyrian representative said quickly. "But surely humanity wants more? Territory? Resources? Tribute?" "No," Chen said simply. "We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to make sure the galaxy remembers this lesson." The Dominion speaker's brain tissue pulsed nervously. "What lesson?" Chen leaned back in his chair. "The lesson of what humans really are." He gestured, and images appeared on the chamber's screens. Not footage from the recent war, but older images. Much older. "You see, delegates, you made a fundamental error in understanding my species. You looked at our current civilization and assumed it represented our true nature." The screens showed scenes from human history, ancient battlefields, medieval sieges, world wars, genocides, nuclear weapons. For 300,000 years, we have been killing each other. Not for territory or resources, but because we could. Because we were good at it. Because it's what we are. The images showed humans hunting mammoths to extinction, Romans crucifying thousands of rebels, medieval armies destroying entire cities, modern soldiers developing weapons that could end worlds. Every atrocity you can imagine, we invented. Every method of warfare, we perfected. Every way to cause pain and suffering, we discovered through trial and error on our own species. The chamber was dead silent. Some delegates looked sick. Others seemed to be having trouble breathing. "We nearly destroyed ourselves dozens of times," Chen continued. "We built weapons that could crack planets. We developed diseases that could sterilize star systems. We created artificial intelligences whose only purpose was to find new ways to kill." Chen's smile grew wider. "The beings you met when we joined your council weren't typical humans. They were what we became after we learned to fear ourselves." More images flashed on the screens. Humans building monuments to peace. Scientists working to cure diseases instead of create them. Diplomats choosing negotiation over conquest. 300 years ago, we decided to try being civilized. We built genetic locks to suppress our violent instincts. We created cultural programming to value peace over conquest. We taught our children that war was wrong, not because we were weak, but because we knew how good at it we were. Chen stood up slowly. Around the chamber, delegates flinched. "When you attacked New Geneva, you broke those locks. You forced us to remember what we are beneath the civilization we built." His voice became very quiet. "And now you know why we were so afraid of that happening." The Vendari representative, barely able to speak, managed to whisper. "What you did to the hegemony, was that humanity at full strength?" Chen laughed. The sound made several delegates whimper. "Full strength? Oh no. What you witnessed wasn't humanity at war. It was humanity trying very hard not to go to war." He gestured again, and new images appeared. Technical specifications for weapons that made the ones used against the hegemony look like children's toys. Battle plans that could sterilize entire sectors. Strategic analyses that considered the extinction of species as acceptable losses. You see, we didn't want to conquer the hegemony. We wanted to stop them from hurting our people, so we used just enough force to accomplish that goal. Chen's eyes seemed to glow with something terrible. If we had actually gone to war, there would be no hegemony species left to surrender. There would be no hegemony worlds left to occupy. There would be no hegemony DNA left in the galaxy. The silence stretched until the Krex delegate found his courage. What? What do you want from us? Nothing, Chen said. Absolutely nothing. We want to go back to trying to be civilized. We want to return to our peaceful research and quiet colonies. We want to forget, once again, what we're capable of. He looked around the chamber at the terrified faces. But now all of you are going to help us remember why peace is so important. Because you've seen what happens when humans stop trying to be civilized. Chen gathered his papers and prepared to leave. The genetic locks are back in place. The violent instincts are suppressed again. We are, once more, the peaceful species that joined your council. He paused at the door. But those locks can fail again. And if they do, if any species ever again forces us to choose between our children's safety and our civilization. Chen's smile was the most terrifying thing any of them had ever seen. Well, pray to whatever gods you believe in that you never find out what happens when humans stop holding back entirely. The door closed behind him, leaving the galaxy's most powerful beings sitting in stunned silence. Over the following months, everything changed. Trade routes that had once been controlled by the strongest species were suddenly protected by neutral human patrols. Conflicts that had raged for centuries were resolved by human mediators whose suggestions carried the weight of absolute authority. Pirates found new careers. Aggressive species discovered the benefits of diplomacy. Wars ended not through conquest, but through the simple knowledge that somewhere out there, humans were watching. And humans returned to their peaceful ways. They continued their research into art and medicine and philosophy. They built beautiful cities and wrote poetry and taught their children to value life. But every alien child now grew up learning the most important lesson in galactic history. Never, ever make the humans mad. Because somewhere in human genetic memory lay the knowledge of how to end everything. And the only thing protecting the galaxy from that knowledge was humanity's desperate desire to remain civilized. The universe had learned why humans had spent so much time saying please. And it prayed that humanity would never have reason to stop being polite again.